Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. If you're listening in America, this podcast is being published on July 4th, so let me just wish everyone in the United States of America a happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July, and so glad that you took a moment from your day of celebration to listen to a podcast about the Psalms. We're studying the Psalms verse by verse here in just a wonderful method using this podcasting tool over the internet, listening 5 minutes a day. We're making our way through the Psalter, and today we're in Psalm 122. So I hope you'll take your Bible and join me as we look at Psalm 122, verses 1 and 2 today. We're going to look at Psalm 122 all this week. Have 9 verses. We'll treat all 9 verses this week. And this is a beautiful psalm. Fits very nicely into the entire body of the Psalms of Ascent that we've been talking about. We started in Psalm 120. And Psalm 120 told us that we were beginning in Meshech and Kedar. And then in Psalm 121, we're ways off yet, and we can just barely see the mountains of Judea. And we talked about Psalm 121 last week, and now in Psalm 122, our subject this week is going to be Jerusalem. The word Jerusalem is used 3 different times in the entirety of this psalm, but the subject of the psalm is the city of Jerusalem because that's our destination. Remember, we began with Meshech and Kedar. We set our GPS. That's where we're starting from. Now we know our destination is, by name, Jerusalem. We had an idea because when we looked to the mountains from whence our help comes, those mountains are the mountains that surround the city of Jerusalem. But now we're a little more specific about our destination, naming it actually by name, and giving some description of the city. So we'll talk about that this week. Also, this is a psalm of ascent, which is attributed to David. So it's of David. And in the body of the Psalms of Ascent, the name David occurs 4 times in the prefixes. So we have here in Psalm 122 and 3 other times, we have a psalm of ascent attributed to David and 1 attributed to Solomon. So these psalms go way back into the history of Israel because if we have David and Solomon writing pieces for this, maybe it's a little booklet. We call it the Little Psalter, at least the rabbis do. Perhaps it was a little carry-on that folks took when they traveled to Jerusalem. So perhaps David and Solomon, his son, wrote, and of course we have that attributed here. We're going to see David mentioned actually in the body of the psalm. I better hurry. I'm going to run out of time, so I want to read at least verses 1 and 2 today. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet will stand in your gates, O Jerusalem." Now there you have Jerusalem mentioned, and as I said, it's mentioned 3 times by name, but the entire psalm is about the city. It's our destination. And notice verse 1, I was glad when they. Who's the they there? Well, the they can be a lot of different people. The they can be the prophets and the apostles who have told us about the heavenly Jerusalem and have invited us to come with them. The they there can be the Trinity, the Spirit of God, the Son, the Father, all of which are inviting us to come along with them, drawing us, effectually calling us to themselves so that we might find entrance into the grand city where God himself dwells. Perhaps the they there are those faithful believers who have invited us themselves personally to come with them, to taste and see that the Lord is good. So the they can be a lot of different folks, but the idea is that there's rejoicing that now, after so long a time in Meshech and Kedar, I'm able to go with the faithful back to the Lord, to go back again to him. Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet will stand in your gates, O Jerusalem. And remember what Psalm 121 said about the feet. Remember, the promise was the feet will not slip. Well, here not only are the feet not slipping, but the feet are standing firm in the gates. And he's looking forward to the moment when his feet will stand within the gates of Jerusalem. I hope you'll join me tomorrow and all this week as we look at this beautiful psalm about the city of Jerusalem on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.